Coming up on today's swim episode
is that they allow for upgraded experiences per the level of ticket you buy. So let's say you're selling a $5 ticket, but also you want to sell them a $15 ticket option where you get the ticket to the stream, but I'll also send you a free copy of my 7-inch that I recently.
This is Swim, Success with Music. Hey, what's going on, everybody? You are listening to the Success with Music podcast. My name is Walt, and I am your music coach. And this is a podcast for singers, songwriters, beat makers, music students, music producers. Hey, we are about that music life. Hey, and I appreciate you listening to the show. Again, this is SWIM. That's short for Success with Music. Hey, today we have a very, very special guest, and we'll get to that in just a moment. And the reason why this particular show is important is because it deals with the current reality of where we all live. And that is the reality of this ridiculous coronavirus, this COVID-19 stupidness. When I launched some episodes months back now, I was hoping that this whole corona thing would be a thing of the past at some point, but here we are, still dealing with it and talking about it. And I really don't want to focus on that, so I'm not going to be a downer. But today I want to talk about, or actually our guest will talk about how to deal with the current reality of keeping your music career afloat as this current crisis wears on. How do you still do shows? How do you still sell products? How do you still engage fans? And that's really where we're going to be today for our episode. So this is a very important episode if you're trying to figure out how to get out there and still be very active and be lucrative, hopefully, as a musician. So this is episode 61. And the reason why I'm calling this out is because I want you to take a look at some show notes once we're done on our website. Our website is successwithmusic.com. Again, that's successwithmusic.com. You know what? Let's go ahead and just get into the show because you're going to get some amazing information. Let's do it. All right, swim team, we are back today with a special episode. And this episode today is really important to me, and I think it's going to be important to you guys because of the current climate here in the country, and most certainly for you listeners around the world. This is impacting you as a musician. If you're trying to get out there and you're trying to, hold concerts, you're trying to get your audience engaged, if you're trying to figure out how to tour, if you're trying to figure out how to get that engagement, this is the episode for you today. So please take notes. Make sure that you be prepared to go to some sites that we're going to give you here in just a moment, because I want to introduce a gentleman who has insight and helpful insight that will get you to where you need to go. His name is Jack Forman, and Jack is with Bicoastal Productions. And Jack is an expert on all things related to booking, all things related to concerts, all things related to getting you out there and getting you back into the groove of things with respect to your budding music career. So with that, swim team, welcome to the show, Jack Forman. Hey, Jack, thank you so much for taking the time today to really share your knowledge.
Hey, Walt, thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. So in typical fashion, when I have a specialist on the show, I like to do less talking. So I would like for you to really take over today and help us to understand the current environment that we're in. So I'll maybe start it off and maybe have you jump off from the point of the obvious. We have been impacted severely by COVID-19, this whole corona craziness. How is this impacting the state of live events, doing shows, getting out there and gigging? What are you seeing?
It's impacted it completely. In recent months, or I guess in recent weeks, more like it, we've seen a lot of need for innovation. And with that need has come tremendous invention and innovation when it comes to the way we consume live performances. As things begin opening up and returning, promoters, presenters, venues, and any kind of person that could ever present a concert they're all having to find these alternative ways of reaching their audiences, and artists are having to get a lot more crafty and creative with what they're doing, with all this interesting downtime. If they're able to sustain their livings and feed their families, then they have a tremendous opportunity to use this time as an incubator for creative creation, for lack of a better term. I mean,
Sure.
There's really so much out there, and now with the evolution of streaming platforms and concerts that are being presented in alternative ways, there's really just all these exciting new innovations and inventions that allow for these artists to really stay out there, even when the theaters are cut down, and if they are going back out there and people are still nervous about going out and buying tickets. So it's really, as crazy as it was and as scary as it was in the beginning, and as big a hit as we all took during this time, as things start getting back little by little, we have to look towards the future and maybe let go a little bit of what we were used to in the past.
Right. And that makes sense. We just have to, unfortunately, deal with this reality. And honestly, I'm still having a hard time getting my head around what it means for just us as individuals, just going to the store or what have you. But of course, this is a music podcast, and a lot of us would like to get out to venues and to coffee shops and to clubs and what have you. And it seems like what was seems like it will not be. So what are some things that you've been thinking about or coming up with respect to this new place that we're in? How can an artist, well, let me back up. I'll ask a different question. Can an artist thrive in this current environment?
They can, if they are willing to drop a lot of their comfort zones. And for some artists, it may be completely their comfort zones to, go live from a strange space or go live from their living room or really experiment with different types of streaming services. But some of the artists who've never even fathomed that for their careers are starting to drop that comfort level and really experiment with it. So that's, if you're not doing that and you're just waiting around for things to come back, power to you. But I know for myself and for the artists that I'm currently advising and representing, I'm really not advising that. I'm advising, if you're not going to go live and if you're not going to do streaming, spend this time to create great content and find new ways of engaging your fans, because it's 2020, and the mystique of an artist has changed quite drastically over the past 10, 15 years when it comes to social media. And you know what? A lot of it has fallen away, whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing. That's a common debate in our industry. But I know my artists are starting to all step a lot more out of their comfort zones. And as we become more aligned with certain streaming platforms and get involved with certain companies who are doing this, and it's really exciting, to be quite honest. Even when shows come back, I have a strong belief that there's going to be a hybrid of streaming and live seats at the actual venues, but maybe some of them will be ticketed as a stream where you buy a ticket and you watch the show from home.
Sure. So for those of us who are smaller acts, smaller bands, less known than some of the bigs out there, my concern is, sure, the streaming may be a good option, but if you were just doing a regular show down at, X, Y, and Z club in town or bar, odds are you'll just have random people showing up that night and maybe checking out your show. And, who knows, you can probably flip them into a fan or maybe sell some merch and things like that. So my point being is that if I am a smaller artist, I don't have a huge platform. So let me give you a quick example, right? So Timberland and Swiss Beats, they have this, whole versus battle on IG, and people are just flocking to it by the thousands, and there's a lot of social buzz around it. It's been a really great experience for most of the artists, Teddy Riley being an exception maybe. But the point is, these well-known names, they're able to just bring a lot of people in. It's very encouraging, I think, in terms of just the engagement. Let's say I'm not that big. I don't have that platform like a Timberland or a Swiss Beats, and I'm just the small artist, and I really thrive on what was that normal foot traffic from the bar around the block. How do I make this online venue work for me? How do I get fans to see what I'm doing or to pick up on what's happening in my little small corner of the internet?
Sure. I'll give you a great example of some people that we're friendly with down in the Carolinas. They're actually a big band, believe it or not. That's not really most of what I work with when it comes to music formats, but this is a local big band. They do a lot of corporate events. They do some, public events as well. But what they've done in this time is they have completely asked for the local communities to embrace them on a localized level, where they're getting sponsorships from local businesses. Maybe they say, if we're going to go live tonight, and if you want to order a pizza from this terrific pizza place in town that you all know and love, good news, they're offering a discount if you mention this live stream. And that's on the most basic level. But
Sure.
they've used their local community who's, they're stuck at home, but they're still hungry for entertainment and content, and they've allowed the community to embrace them and support them. And they've been able to use their local platform, wherever they played at small little venues in town, or they did radio stuff like that. They used all of it to really try to bolster what they were doing streaming. And they would literally all just get together in a big ballroom and space each other out to make sure they're socially distanced. And they'd perform as if they were performing on a big stage. And, if you're a small DIY one-person artist, maybe you don't do it exactly like that, but you embrace some of these people that have given you the chance at the start. Maybe it's a local coffee shop, or it's
Sure.
a local record label, or a local radio station, or AAA, something. And you ask them for help because they're desperately looking for new content right now. There's not as much new content as there is coming out. People are hungry for something at a localized level. So that would be my personal recommendation to a DIY or a starting out artist, or somebody with a more localized fan base that's still on the rise. Because, as much as you want to always think globally with your career, you do have to remember where you came from and the people that helped you get there as your kind of core base.
Sure. Makes sense. So let's go deeper into this, right? So here I am. I'm maybe starting local, right? Or locally.
Sure.
And I want to talk very practically, because my mind sometimes starts to think about details. How do I pull this off? What do I need to do? What resources will I need? So let's say I am trying to do what you're mentioning, just start local and maybe, engage some of the local businesses and maybe have some kind of co-opted effort. What should my show format look like? And I know this will be different for each artist, but meaning, am I just turning on my camera phone and just playing out in my living room? Am I playing along with a track? Do I go out to the garage? Do I go out to a park? Am I setting up lighting? Like, how can this actually be pulled off to where it doesn't look like I just turned my camera on and I just, did something kind of haphazardly, but I'm now trying to, again, get that engagement, maybe push some merch, maybe push some streaming and subscriptions. What should I do in terms of the actual presentation?
You want to make it as turnkey and accessible to fans as possible, especially if you're appealing to an older audience who may not be as technologically savvy, which is really my people, to be honest with you. And, you really want to make this one-stop solution for all of these people who you are trying to engage. If they have to go through all kinds of obstacles to just get to your stream or get to your broadcast, whatever it is you're doing, you're losing quite a bit. And the amount of communication is paramount, is paramount to what your success level is going to be with this. If you're talking about virtual tickets, which I can go into, I'd say a majority of sales, probably 90% even, are going to come day of show. It's kind of like if you're a fight fan like me, like a boxing fan, if you're looking at the pay-per-view models of late, probably 75 to 80% of them, of the buys, came on day of the fight or the night of the fight even. It's an impulse buy. So I'll give you a great example of somebody that we're working with that a lot of indie artists are starting to kind of embrace. Back in the early 2000s, if you were a fan of the band Good Charlotte, the two brothers in that band have recently started a great platform called Veeps, VEEPS. And it is kind of a spin-off of the word VIP, because they originally created it as a great opportunity for artists to engage their fans on a personal level. And what it's really turned into primarily is this great service for ticketed live streamed events. Okay. All you need is a laptop. And ideally, if you have a good microphone, if you have a sound card that you can, use to get into your digital audio workstation of choice, or if you don't even want to get that complicated, you just need the bare basics if you're a at-home musician, and that's where you start. that's where you start, and you go live with something like this platform where you can literally sell tickets for $5 a piece, and Veeps keeps they take a 15% charge on top of the ticket.